We are nearly done stitching our bag, and if you notice, I still have the free arm open, and so I have the extra little extension removed. Make sure before you leave that you always put that back on. And I am going to check my stitching on a scrap. Needle up, presser foot up, pull off to the left, and it looks the same on the front and the back. So we're ready to go. Now we are going to use stitch number 1 for this particular step, but instead of using one of the toes, we're going to use that center mark of the foot. So there's a little notch in the middle of the foot, and that's what we're going to use as how we're going to line this up. So I'm going to slide my bag on, and I am going to start at one of the side seams. Again, when we start at a side seam, it makes it easier to disguise our start and stop. But I also want to make sure that I hold on to my thread so that I don't get a big blob underneath. Now, I'm lining up the center mark of the foot is at the top edge of the bag. Drop my needle down. And I'm going to hold on to my threads as I stitch, and I want to make sure that nothing gets caught. Your straps should be hanging out the top of the bag. They should not be down inside the bag at this point. Alright, so we're going to stitch a few forward and then a few backwards, like 3 or 4. And then we're going to stitch around the top edge. And it gets kind of tricky when we get to the straps, but I'll show you what to do. See if you notice that one to pop up there. And I just have to adjust it so it doesn't twist. And I'm just going to keep stitching, making sure I keep it lined up with that mark right there. Okay, so I am almost to the pins, but my foot is already on top of the strap, so it's not going to wiggle around. I'm going to just reach. I can lift my presser foot up. It's not going to wiggle because I'm keeping my hand on it over here. And so I can lift that up if I need to take the pin out. Make sure you keep that nice and straight. I'm going to stitch a few more, and then I'm going to stop and take the other pin out. Again, I keep my hand over here so it doesn't wiggle around because I want that strap to stay straight. And then I'm just going to keep stitching until I come upon the next strap. Try to keep this top edge stitching as straight as possible because it will show on the outside of the bag, and we want that part to look neat. If you are careful in your stitching, you will always be proud of what you make, just because you did your very best. Alright, so again, I don't want to stitch over those pins. So I can lift my presser foot up, but don't forget to put it back down. You know that our Rachels will actually beep at us if we don't remember to put the presser foot down. And across that, I went across the side seam. And here we go. Remember, this strap wants to wiggle around, so we need to make sure that we keep it nice and flat as we stitch. My foot's on top of the strap, so I can take the first pin out. And I'm going to take my second one out. We're more than halfway there. And if you notice, I always keep my hands on top. My hands help me guide it. I'm not looking at the needle. I'm actually looking at the notch. That's where I want to keep my eyes focused, so I know for sure that I'm keeping it straight as best as I can. Okay, stop and take those last 2 pins out one at a time. All right. The last bit of the strap, and I'm coming up on those threads, I am going to stop and cut them before I overlap, just because I think it's easier to not get a big thread mess if I do that. So clip the top one, and then clip the bottom one too. Make sure they're nice and short. Okay. And then my goal is to overlap. I want to land right on top of that and then do a few back stitches. I'm actually going to go a little bit past it, and then I'm going to do a few back stitches, and then needle up, presser foot up, and pull off to our left, and make sure that you cut those threads really close. Okay, so my upper edge is stitched all the way around and my straps are attached. I want you to have me check this before you do the reinforcing.